Hey all, Daniel Agapito here for the Moshville Times, and today I am honored to be here with Steve, vocalist of Within the Ruins, one of the biggest and best progressive metalcore bands straight out of Massachusetts. So, how are you today, Steve?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Happy to be here. Just had a nice day of interviews and getting real pumped for the album. A couple days out.
So, for those that don't know, this Friday, the 23rd, Within the Ruins will be releasing Phenomena 2, the sequel to their excellent album Phenomena, which was released 10 years ago, back in 2014. The album's great. My review should already be up on the website by the time this interview is out. So, let's get started, shall we? So, first off, how would you describe the evolution of the band up to the point where y'all are now with Phenomena 2?
Um, I can speak to part of it because I've been in the band for about 6 years, a little over 6 years. But the band's been probably full time touring since about 2008, eight or so. Um, uh, but also being a fan of it and friends with the guys over the years, I've seen some, changes and stuff. Mostly writing wise. Every all the songs have always been awesome. I've always been a fan. You see stuff once you get towards the first phenomena is when cool stuff starts. I don't know. I don't want to word this in a weird way. I see some like song structure changes and different riff styles, uh, and adding a little bit of harmony, I guess, into some of the vocal stuff. And then once Paolo joined, then of course obviously you get some cleans, which we're all fans of. It's not like anybody doesn't listen to metal that doesn't have cleans in it, but we're fans of it. So that's been a change that we've all accepted and we enjoy. Um, and now a couple albums in for me, I'm just kind of bringing a slightly different style to it. I don't want to completely repeat anything Tim has done. Try to keep it in that vein, but also just my own style. And it's and a little bit of everybody kind of trying something new. Myself, every time I record something, I like to do different, at least try some new vocal stuff. I'd stick to what works, but uh, always like to try something new that I haven't done on anything else and see how that goes. Same thing with Paolo, Joe, especially um, since he writes everything. He's always trying to push himself and try new stuff and not be redundant. So I'd say though, as a bigger picture, before I start rambling, I think it's all a bunch of little stuff. The band, if you could pick any song from any album, you're gonna know that it's Within the Ruins. But I think it's little stuff within the writing, little details that have progressed over the years.
So, about your entry into the band 6 years ago, how was the process? Did you find it like hard to fill in the hole left by Tim? Do you have anything to say about the fans' reception of your entry?
It was easy in some sense, but slightly difficult in others. Easy because Paolo and I's old band, Silence the Messenger, we've been friends with the guys in Ruins for a long time. So I already knew the guys, and it was really easy to just come in with personalities you're familiar with and not have to tiptoe around stuff. So that was really easy. And then knowing some of the songs already, not like every in and out, but just being familiar with them also made things a lot easier. So I'm not completely blind. It was more just details of, okay, this is how these patterns go and the ins and outs of stuff like that. Um, as far as fan difficult, like more so writing and learning the songs because Pal and I's old band was more of a straightforward just deathcore band, and so it was a different writing style than anything Ruins has done, and so that's a little bit of a slight curveball, but it's not anything you couldn't get used to. The reception overall um, has been great. Like I said, don't want to completely copy anything Tim ever did. I would like to do things my way, but also still kind of adhere to what the band has done as a whole. You're gonna always have people that are where's Tim? I missed Tim. It's just not the same, blah blah blah. Well, yeah, but why would it be? Why would it be the same? Um, and if you're still asking where's Tim, like I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's been long enough now. You should know that he hasn't been in the band for a minute, and that's not saying anything disrespectful to him. Me and him are friends. We text regularly. He's all the band is friends with him. He even came up on stage a couple times recently with us. Like so, everything's cool with that. It was just one of those things where it was time, and I was an easy shoe in because I'd already been friends with the band, and since Silent Semester had broken up, I had free time. So, but it's been great, man. I still to this day feel uh, honored and grateful that I'm been given the opportunity to have a second shot at doing the band thing. So I'm stoked to be here.
Keeping with this evolution train of thoughts, how was the process like for you guys to keep things fresh? What would you say is like the main thing that makes Phenomena 2 stand out among all the other Ruined albums?
Um, I think it might be the combination of trying to do something like to do a sequel well enough that is very easily connected to the first one. That's not just another album with a label slapped on it. But plenty of the little details that are everywhere in this thing that connect them. Uh, but still trying to do something new, so you're not just repeating it and saying, okay, well, then what was the point? Um, like I mentioned earlier, Joe really pushes himself to to not write the same thing over and over just to have something. I mean, you can, like I said, also uh you can hear any song from the band's catalog and be like, that's within the ruins. Um, so I think that's just going to inherently be there, but it's always trying some new effects, trying a different variation of something that maybe didn't work before. Like there's stuff that I've heard in some folders that he has of like variations of riffs, and uh he just works off, sometimes has worked off of those and changes. Like he's always trying to better himself and better the songs. And so it's walking a fine line, I think, with this album, that it's the same in the sense that it's connected with a lot of the riffs. There are similar riffs. There, and then lyrically, obviously it's connected multiple ways. Um, but still pushing boundaries on my end and Joe's end. And Paolo's in too. He recorded the bass from home and sent all that over. I mean, he pushed himself to do everything well within the scope of Joe takes the reins of writing the song, but he goes with Paolo right with what works for every little section, whether he needs to be up front or needs to be in the back as a supporting role, whatever. He put in a lot of work too to really push himself on writing his parts. Yeah, it's just a lot. I'd say a lot of it. I'd say the devil's in the details, and a lot of the evolution of how the band operates.
I heard from the promo materials that the idea for creating a sequel to Phenomena came from you after you heard some of Joe's demos. Could you talk about like the concept of the sequel itself? Like why you guys chose to do that? Was it only related to the 10th year anniversary? Was there something more behind it?
Um, a little of all that. I remember I kind of first pitched the idea, um, kind of just half-assed in the group chat one day, because it was getting close to. We hadn't started recording anything yet, but it was getting close to like, well, we should probably start planning some studio time, and I'm gonna start sending over demos. And I had just kind of thrown out like, well, we could do a Phenomena too, and, and nobody really latched onto it. I was kind of half serious, anyways, because what all I wanted to do though was, I think a big part of it stemmed from me not wanting to write a Blackheart again. So when I first joined the band and put that album out, I kind of laid all my cards on the table, and I was just going through a lot at that time, and I just kind of made that made that the theme. it was angry, it was sad, it was um, dark, and I just wasn't in that headspace anymore. And I didn't want to do that again and have it not be authentic. So I didn't want to fake that. So that's when I started throwing out the idea. And then when Joe started sending over demos, I can't remember which song it was. I want to say it might have been either Daywalker or Corruption, maybe. It's a couple years ago now at this point. Something just sparked in me. I was like, well, hold on, this kind of sounds like some of the original Phenomena. So I put it out there again, and then we actually started talking about it for real. And I kind of said the same thing I just told you now. I was like, well, I'm not really in Blackheart headspace, and I don't want to write about nothing. Uh, and so we started thinking, and we at the time we're potentially getting ready to do a 10-year anniversary of Elite, but then the nothing happened with that one. So, but that I think probably prompted us to think, okay, well, actually, it's going to be 10 years of Phenomena coming up. So by the time we get this out, if we hit the deadlines, then it could be a sequel and a 10-year anniversary at the same time. So then didn't really take much convincing from there. The stars just sort of aligned and everybody was on board. And so it kind of like domino effect into, well, I sort of like half-assed through the idea, and then Joe's demos started sounding like it, and then I was doubled down, and then uh turned Joe into like, okay, hell yeah, if we're doing it, then let's focus on let's get into phenomena vibes and writing styles. So everything kind of just fell off of the other thing, and here we are.
So, especially since you weren't a band member at the time and you're gonna have a different perspective from the guys that were in the band at the time Phenomena was released, in hindsight, how do you feel like it has aged so far? Like, how do you feel it altered the direction Ruins was going in?
um I mean, when I because yeah, I wasn't in the band at the time when that came out, but I've always been a fan of that album. And and in a lot of ways it worked out really well for me to take over for Tim. uh like all the same styles of music and have a big appreciation for comic stuff, movies, shows, all that. And so I'd always been a little extra drawn to the first Phenomena. And I think to this day it still is the most popular one in the catalog. We I mean, we got to play all the hits from other albums and stuff, and people always say they want Tractor Pull or whatever, which we do, but we play it. We still play, Feeding Frenzy. We still play Invade. But the songs that we always have that are never going to go anywhere, or they're always from Phenomena. Whether it's Gods Amongst Men, The Other, it's just they're all calling card. They're all ones that just go over very well live. Not that any of them don't really, but those are kind of the ones that stand out for sure. They always stuck out for me back then, and they still stick out now. So I think everything that we've done on either side of that album is fun and awesome, but there's just something about Phenomena that people latched onto, and so it was kind of hard to deny the impact that it had on that. I think if you ask Joe too, he would even say that that's when things really started to take off for the band. Like they were doing well before that, but when that album came out, it was exponentially better. Uh, so I'd say the first one affected the band pretty well in a lot of ways. So it was kind of a daunting task to take on a second one, but I was also really excited about it. So um, even before I was in the band, I guess it was kind of a way it was affecting me and still did now. So happy with how it came out though. It was cool.
So you mentioned liking movies, comics, shows, and whatnot, and some of the lyrics in Phenomena 2 kind of do tie in with that, like Castle in the Sky tying in a bit with Punisher, Lost Sun, and Superman. Could you talk about these connections with comics, pop culture, for the people that haven't heard of the lyrical concepts from the album?
Yeah, sure. Well, so basically each song is about a different character. Um, even the songs that are just instrumentals, they have they have tie-ins to comic themes. Um, and then Enigma 2 is obviously a sequel to one of the instrumentals from the first Phenomena. Uh, so and that was kind of what Tim did on the first one. He had different characters and he had a great selection of ones to choose from, and he chose great ones. So I didn't want to do the same thing, the same characters. I chose different ones, and I tried to also keep it kind of modern with pop culture of what's going on. And because at that time in 2014, I mean, the MCU was going, but it wasn't anywhere near what it is now. So, so what I tried to do with the characters that I chose were ones that I always found interesting or that had not been chosen already. But I also tried to look forward to stuff that's kind of coming down the pipe from anything in the MCU or DC, that kind of thing. And so each song is a character that's already been present or is going to be in the next few years. I think it's a good balance of um, keeping it keeping it current in that whole zeitgeist of comic comic fandom. And what I did with each one though is I tried to write it from the perspective of that character. And the irony being is that they're yeah, superheroes, anti-heroes, villains, but I'm writing most of these songs and I touch on a lot of the super, you know, like their powers and like the concepts and stuff of what they really are. But what I try to do a lot of actually was ground those stories in a real world sense. Like Punisher is he's a military vet that lost his family. I mean, and then just goes into a spiral of drinking and trying to process everything. Superman is about a guy that's somewhere he's not supposed to be, and people accept him, people reject him, and he's just trying to live in a new place without his family. He doesn't have, I mean, he's got his earthly family, but it's not his biological parents. And then, I mean, there's just so on and so forth. I mean, I could go through each character, but then we'll be here for a little bit. But that's kind of where I was coming from was taking these characters and humanizing them a little bit to even if you aren't fans of, or maybe you're a fan, but you don't dive in and you're not a super nerd to all this stuff that you could still relate to some of these things or at least understand the basic concepts before you get into all the comic book lore. Uh, so it can resonate with different people on different levels is kind of what I was going for.
So about this grounding of the story and keeping it current, how do you guys balance honoring the original story and putting your own twist into it?
Most of them, what I would do with each song really is I would because I'm already mostly familiar with a lot of the characters as it is, but I want to do as much research as I can to see if there's anything I missed or something that I could add to that for the people that are the super nerds that like really know the stories well. I could add little Easter eggs that are not the obvious stuff. And so I with each song, I would take one night to just do hours of research. I would look into the comic book origins. I would watch the movies that are relevant to that character, TV shows, all of it. And so I would pull from different sources on each one. And I would take a second night to actually write the songs and put all the lyrics. I mean, when I say write, I mean I would write a bunch of lyrics and concepts and stuff down that first night, and then whenever I would write the song, I would take all the lyrics and place them into the actual instrumental that Joe sends over. Um, and I think I blanked. What am I missing from the first part of your question, or maybe the second part? Um,
How do you guys balance honoring the
oh,
original
balance.
story and yeah?
You're right. Yeah, yeah. So I think because I think that was always a main focus part was making sure that the original story. Uh, there's different timelines and different stories and stuff where maybe that tweaks a little bit, but just mostly sticking to the basics of what people are familiar with, and then peppering in other fun little details to make sure that character is not misrepresented by any means, but give fun details for the people that are really paying attention to to make it that much more fun. And I think there's a little bit of that Basically every song, I think, even the instrumentals have their own little pieces of uh comic lore built into them. Uh, so it's mostly keeping getting all your ducks in a row from origin stories in the movie, the actual comics and TV shows, and just getting the basic parts of that. I think as long as that's right, and you don't fuck up any major details. I think there's a lot you can really do with it. But I did my homework though. I'll put it that way.
If you had to pick one song from the album to highlight and tell us a bit about here, which one would it be? Like, you could talk about the connection with the characters. If you had to just pick one, what would it be?
It's so tough to just pick one. I know everyone says that. It's such a cop out answer. But we even had a hard time picking singles. There's easily a couple. Any almost any of these could have been singles, and we're probably still going to do some stuff for some of them that we didn't choose these first initial three. Um, but I think honestly, I really liked. I think I might choose Corruption because that one is. I think because that was the first one that I really wrote for the album, and I probably have a little bit of nostalgia attached to it already. Um, and that one was a lot of fun because I chose like serious, like I have some of his origin story in there, but I chose a lot of it was the Paul Dano Riddler from the Batman. Where I really just liked his liked maybe be a loose term. I found his thought process interesting throughout the whole his take on the character. But then I also peppered in a couple cool lines from the Joel Schumacher Jim Carrey Riddler, so which is more campy and whatever. But he has a couple lines in there that I was like, oh, that still fits with what the character is. And if it's one of those if you know you know things. And again, it's hard to pick just one, but I think if I was forced to, I'd probably pick Corruption just because I really like how that song turned out, and it was the first one I wrote, so I'm kind of attached to it. But if you asked me tomorrow, I could give you a different answer. So I don't know. But for now, I'll say Corruption.
Apart from comics and the like, would you say that you guys have any other major lyrical influences?
Um, I don't know. Because it's Joe. Joe has been very trusting in having letting me write the all the words and stuff. I think he has probably has enough on his plate as it is, just writing all the other songs um, from from the ground up. Um, but I can really only speak to. I mean, I've heard Tim talk about his lyrical influences and stuff, but I can really only speak to mine fully. Um, um, I've just always liked writing from in here. I don't know. The concept. Don't get me wrong. I had a ton of fun writing this album, and if we did another Phenomena 3 down the road or another concept album of some kind, it would be super fun. But getting down to like what I've written over the years, it's always just been stuff that either I'm feeling or have felt in the past, or a combination of those two plus what I think anybody else might feel in whatever that situation is. I just remember it sounds a little corny, but I remember I grew up listening to new metal, and I would watch new metal music videos and concerts, and I have all the DVDs. This whole not this whole thing of DVDs, but some I have like a whole half a row on the bottom here that's like just music DVDs. And there was something about like the angst that was kind of built into those songs that stuck with me. Not that when I was that young I had anything to be angsty about, really, other than just being a teenager. But um, I don't know. I've always just admired stuff that comes from the heart, and the guys usually just let me take that and run with it. And then as I'm recording, if there's inputs on like, hey, this word might fit a little better, or like, what if we throw in this? Like, I'm always down uh, for additional help and stuff if they want to. But I also take pride in what I write, so I do my best to come in with full ideas and fully fledged concepts, and then we can tweak from there. But the guys are open to whatever I come up with, and then we as a unit can adjust from there.
So I've asked this question to quite a few people, and it's always fun to see their different answers. Do you view metal and like heavy music in general as in effective way, an effective medium for expressing your feelings?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like there's just something inherent about metal. Whatever, we could just use metal as an umbrella term, and you can include whatever subgenres you want within that. I think there's something about it that is, it's not for everybody, obviously. That, um, but for those that do subscribe to this culture, I think metal is a, I think a big thing. I think a big thing about it is it appeals to our evolutionary nature. It's tribalistic. It's rhythmic, and it gets down deep in here. Um, and I think that's why a lot of us, even if the songs aren't necessarily about something personal, it's just about the combination of yeah, like somebody's yelling about something, and the guitars are fast paced, which is intense, but like interesting, and then drums with all the different rhythms and patterns, and then heavy bass beneath that. All of it just makes this layer, I think, of excuse me, of this, just it gives you that tribal feeling that is tough to find in any other scenario. That I don't think, like, and don't get me wrong, I grew up in the orchestra. I played the violin for a long time, so I have a great appreciation for all styles of music. But something about metal, it just strikes you differently on the inside, makes you literally in some, like, feel something. And again, not that other styles don't, but um I don't know, it's just something magical about, that's the best way I can put, like, a even a remotely scientific answer to it, is I think it makes us, it appeals to that evolutionary side of us. But I don't know, man, it's special. There's something special about it, and it just, if you're in it, you get it.
Keeping in this train of thoughts, if the fans were to take something away, a message away from not only this new album, but basically this whole new era of Ruins with you on vocals, what would you like it to be?
um I don't know. It could probably be a few different things. I know that I still see the like, oh, I miss Tim, or, where's Tim? But that's going to happen with any band that has a member that changes, especially if it's a significant one. So that's nothing ever that, like, that hurts my feelings by any means. If anything, like I said, the exception has been great. Um, it is just this is where we're at, and we're trying a lot of new things. And I think that me coming in, like I said, all cards on the table with Blackheart really kind of like set the stage for us trying new things. Like, there was never, Ruins hadn't done anything that dark or expressive, um, vulnerable even, that before. And I think that might have, and this is just me thinking out loud, but that might have set a tone for us really trying to do something new, especially at this band's stage in the career. I would say, just let's just take it and roll with it. I mean, music is subjective; it's art, and we're having a great time doing it. We're still having a lot of fun being within the Ruins, and just taking this where it goes. And we just hope everyone sticks along for the ride and enjoys it as much as we do.
Now to lighten the tone a little bit less of a serious question. Ever since Invade, you guys have kept adding an installment to the Ataxia series, reaching Ataxia 5 on Blackheart. Was there any reason, apart from Enigma 2, for a lack of Ataxia 6 here in Phenomena 2?
um, I think it mostly does come down to an Enigma too. And this is all Joe stuff. This obviously wasn't my idea. I leave the instrumental stuff up to him. I had a little bit input on a couple different things, but stopping the Ataxia series was his call. I think it also would have just been a little weird to have a couple different songs like an Ataxia 6, Enigma 2, and then you just kind of like setting yourself up for down the road of like, all right, then if you what if you want to do a sequel to one of the other ones? I don't know. I think in his head, and I agreed with him when he said it, that it was just probably time to stop the Ataxia. Five is a good rounded off number to do that with. Um, but I mean, realistically, when you think about it, I mean, you could slap an Ataxia 6 title on Death Mask or level 12, and people be like, yeah, Ataxia. Or you could just as easily take it off and put a new title on it, and they'd be like, what the fuck? I mean, it doesn't. It's it's arbitrary, really. I mean, not to be a not to be a negative Nancy about it, but um, at least that's how I view it. I mean, if if Joe spoke to it in a different light, then he'd be the arbiter of what that series has meant to him over the years. But I think really down brass tacks, it was just, you know what, if we're gonna do stick in the vein of doing sequels, Enigma 2 would be cool. Let's start something fresh here, and kind of like ties into what you asked in the previous question about like this is a new era of the band. So let's um yeah, we're looking back, but like we're trying new things and also moving forward with it. So um I think the world will be okay without an Ataxia 6. I think we'll make it through somehow. But that's not to say there couldn't be one down the road. Who knows? Maybe he'll bring it back around. But for now, Enigma 2, probably the answer to that question. Yeah.
So now moving forward with the album coming out this week, what are your guys' plans for the future? Are we gonna see anything special for the 20th anniversary coming next year? What are you guys gonna do now?
Um, with the well, there was a so Joe owns a brewery, and he has about once a month he does a Metal Monday at the brewery. So a couple days ago, they did a Metal Monday and launched a beer that he created just for the album, called it Daywalker, and it was supposed to be like a session IPA that's easy to drink during the day, but then also Daywalker ties in with the song about Blade. So they had the beer launch, but also an album listening party. So during that whole Metal Monday thing, they if you showed up, you got to hear the album front to back before it comes out on Friday, and that went really well. And then in October, we're doing a handful of shows here in the South. We have some Texas dates, Oklahoma City, Denver, and I think maybe next week or so. Next week or so, we're going to announce some dates up north, uh, where the band is actually from, and probably about a week or so in between those little handfuls of dates. Maybe I believe we've confirmed some at least one date during the holidays, but then after that, now we're kind of just seeing what we want to do for spring, summer. I don't see us going back to touring full time 6 months out of the year or anything like that. For weeks on end, but if if the right tour shows up, if Lamb of God comes calling, we'll hop on. But right now we're just kind of in the middle of discussing what we want to do for spring, summer. So there's some stuff planned out right now to get the ball rolling into the holidays. But we'll see what 2025 has in store. But we do plan on getting back to work and being more active than we were for the Blackheart cycle, for sure.
So now to end things off, if you had to give the fans a message in relation to Phenomena 2, what would you say to them?
Well, first, thanks for sticking around and enjoying all the way up to the 10-year anniversary of this one, of the first one. And I hope that you guys enjoy the songs and the characters that I chose and that we wrote, as much as we enjoyed making the album. Like I said before, this was just a total blast to dive in and really go headfirst into all these characters and stories. It was a really fun album to do, so I'm excited to see where it takes us from here. I'm almost kind of sad in a way that the whole thing's done, because I just had a lot of fun recording it and writing it and just diving in. But I hope everybody enjoys it as much as we do. And we will see you some shows next year.
So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'm Daniel Agapito, and this has been Steve from Within the Ruins. Phenomena 2 is out now on Friday, the 23rd, on all streaming services. My review should already be up on the website. And Steve, do you have any final considerations? Anything you'd like to share with our audience?
No, just thank you guys for checking out the interview and thanks for listening and enjoy the album.